Ryan smiled as her tears flickered, looking at her mother from distance. I missed you so much. Her mother smiled, looking at her as she slowly walked towards her, extending her hand to touch, to feel its real. And when her hands about to touch her, Ryan, he pulled her back. He hugged her tightly while she protested. Leave me. She protested and he hugged her tighter. No, I won't leave you. I won't let you leave me. He hugged her tighter. Oh, please leave me, she cried. You can't leave me. I'm not allowing you to leave me. Ryan, he muttered again, his voice muffled again under the water. And he finally, through the darkness, he saw her, a lifeless silhouette drifting downward, her hair flowing like ink in the water. He saw her body floating down, and his hands reached to hers. He held her hand securely as he pulled her towards him, hugging her tightly. With every ounce of strength, Jungkook propelled himself forward, wrapping his arms around her limp body, and her skin was cold, her face pale, and it terrified him to his core. Why, he cried out of his soul. Leave me, while crowds started gathering as Shin arrived there, and he was worried. Don't go there. Someone stopped him as he looked at him. What happened there? He asked, being terrified. A girl jumped from there, he said, and Shin's heart dropped. When his eyes landed on the person who was crying out of his soul, as he looked at him, terrified, and looked at the river. He muttered, as he's about to rush there, but people stopped him, holding him tight. Leave me, that's my sister, he yelled. We understand, sir, but rescue team is arriving, someone spoke. You can't go there, leave me. But suddenly crowd made sound when he looked in that direction and saw Jungkook jumping into the river, and he looked horrified. As he chugged, the people holding him and rushed to railing, looking down when rescue team and emergency force arrived. Some move from here, he said, pulling Jin while he stubbornly shook his head. Now my sister is there, let me go, he stubbornly yelled when some police officer pulled him. We know, but let us do our work, he yelled back. Seal the area, other police officer commanded. Ryan, he murmured, desperately looking for her, as water is really freezing and it's getting hard for him to breathe, but he didn't stop going deeper. He gone deeper and his lungs burned as he dove deeper, his eyes frantically searching the murky depths of her. He could barely see, but the image of her fragile form sinking haunted his vision. Why, he muttered again, his voice muffled under the water. Finally, through the darkness, he saw her, a lifeless silhouette drifting downward, her hair flowing like ink in the water. He saw her body floating down, and his hands reached to her hand. He held her hand securely as he pulled her towards him, hugging her tightly with every ounce of strength. Jungkook propelled himself forward, wrapping his arms around her limp body. Her skin was cold, her face pale, and it terrified his to his core. No, you can't leave me, Ryan, he muttered through grating teeth, pulling her to the surface with all his might. His own body screamed for air as they broke through the surface, gasping and coughing. He held her tightly, her head resting against his shoulder as he swam towards the shore. Jungkook dragged her onto river bank. He laid on her the ground, his trembling hands brushed her soaked hair from her. Ryan, please open your eyes, he whispered, tears streaming down his face as he pressed his hands to her chest, begging CPR. Each convention felt like a play, each breath a desperate prayer. You can't do this to me, Jungkook choked out, his voice breaking. I know I hurt you. I know I broke you, but you are stronger than this. Don't let me be the person you give up. Fight, my please fight. Her chest remained still, her lips blue. Jungkook sobbed badly as his trembling hands touched her cheeks, looking at her still body. He cupped her mouth and gave her CPR and checked her beat constantly as it was slow. He leaned down again, giving her another breath, his own tears falling onto her pale skin. Damn it, Ryan. You don't get to leave me like this, he cried out, his voice raw and anguished. You said you love me. If there's even a piece of you that means it, then you might fight to come back. I can't live without you. I won't. Her voice trembled with urgency. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. And then a faint cough water spurted from her lips as her body jerked. Why? Jungkook breathed, his hands cradling her face. Relief washed over him like a tidal wave, and he sobbed openly, holding her against his chest. His eyes remained closed. Please get up, he sobbed hardly. Jungkook looked up and cleaned her face with his hands, and he lifted her head a little in his arms, carrying her like a baby. Please don't leave me. Please live on. Live for yourself, he muttered. His vision got blurry with tears. Please live, Ryan, he sobbed, hugging her tight. Ryan, he called out as he rushed there, including officer and rescue team as they rushed to them. Jun went to his knees to check her as his trail rolled down. My sister. Ambulance arrived ASAP. Stretcher come out rushing to them. Please move, we need to take her to hospital, officer said with desperation while Jungkook seems lost. Please move, she is bleeding, he yelled as Jungkook came back when he looked at his hand which is covered with blood. His hands trembled when paramedics checked her pulses and he glanced disappointed to another one. Very slow, almost. Another paramedics instantly cuts him off. Take her hospital immediately, he said. Another one nodded. They secured Ryan on stretcher as Jungkook just watched her, and he slowly got up with no expression on his face. All he could see Ryan going into ambulance and his brother was fighting with officers as his vision slowly getting blurry as he barely could open his eyes and his mind stopped working. Hyung. Jungkook barely could hear anything as he looked at the blood in his hand and slowly his body leaving no energy as he passed out. Hyung, Hyung. He tapped his cheeks. His vision was blurred as he barely could open his eyes. Ryan, he whispered slowly, his eyes closed. Your eyes are damn pretty. I wish one day they could meet mine. Her lips curled up in a smile as he peeked at her, and the soft smile tugged on his face as well. He saw her writing something on paper as he tilted his head just to see her what she is doing when she called waiter. You know that masked man, right? Your regular customer. He found. That tall man with bunny eyes, with soft skin. A tall one who always wears black. She elaborated as much as she can. Jungkook chuckled at her words. He nodded. I saw you always serve him. Please give this to him, she softly said, and he nodded. Okay, ma'am, he replied. Thank you, she said, smiling as she took her bag and walked while he quickly hid himself. He watched her going outside of cafe as he walked to that person. Hi. He approached him and he looked at Jungkook and smiled. Oh, sir, he said, smiling, and Jungkook smiled. So this is for you. A girl gave this, he said, extending him a paper and note and a box. He grinned softly. Thank you, he replied, and then bowed and left. He opened the note with excitement. Only my eyes are pretty, sir. What about me? Am I not? And about meeting your eyes? Were you able to do it? Be careful, you might get lost. He grinned softly, shaking his head. As he walked outside looking for her and saw her standing as he is about to approach her, but she walked to cross the road. He leaned on the pillar watching her, but then only his eyes widened when he saw a car in speed rushing towards her. Ryan, his eyes shot open, catching breath. He looked around and found himself in a hospital, and he checked himself. Only thought came to his mind is of Ryan. He tried to rush, but nurse came. So where are you going? You are not okay, she uttered. I need to check on her. Believe me. His voice muffled and she tried to stop him but couldn't. He opened the door when his eyes landed on his father and brother. That whine, he uttered, and he lowered his gaze as he just gazed his head while his heart dropped looking at his reactions. Her condition is critical, young, his brother said, and a tear rolled down from his cheeks. As Jungkook tried to rush out, but his father stopped him. Son, don't. His dad said in denial. I want to meet her, Dad, he said with desperation. You can't, her brother won't let you, he uttered. And he looked at him teary. She's my love, she's my wife. No one can stop me to meet her, he said and walked out. Son, we tried to stabilize her condition, but it feels like she doesn't want to live. Her body is not responding, which is important, and due to her head injury, if she didn't gain consciousness, there are chances she will go in coma. Dr. Sanan Jin closed his eyes, looking down. While Jungkook clutched himself tightly, hearing those words, as his brother gave him support as he looked up. Nothing will happen to her, he uttered, and Subin nodded to assure him. I feel as a brother. I failed to protect my sister, he said when his eyes shifted to Jung. As his brows stiffened and Jungkook slowly walked towards her room, but her brother stopped him. Where are you going? He asked coldly. Jungkook looked at him, gulping. I want to meet her. Can I see her, doctor? Doctor nodded. You can't meet her, he coldly said, pushing him away slightly. Please, Jungkook, he muttered in a very low and weak voice. I won't let you meet her. I won't let your shadow to be on her. She's here just because of you, he said, gritting teeth, and his lashes lowered down. His tears flowed down to the floor. Please, for once, he pleaded. He yelled out of frustration as everyone looked at him while Sobin walked to his brother. Hyung, please, let's go. He approached him softly while Jungkook looked at his brother, ignoring Sobin as he lowered his head. And next, what he did made everyone shocked. Son, Hyung. He went on his knees, folding his trembling hands in front of her brother. Hyung, please let me meet her for one last time, he begged, while her brother looked away as tears slid down from his eyes. I'm begging, let me see her. I promise I will never show my face to her. Please let me see her, I'm begging. He sobbed softly, while his father's eyes softened looking at his son, and Subin's tears also slid, looking at his brother's condition. Please, for once, he sobbed as Jimin moved away from the door, looking away. Jungkook said as he looked up, and her brother was looking away, but he's no longer looking his way. He got up with desperation. Thank you so much, he muttered while her brother didn't say anything, and he just shut his eyes tightly. He hesitantly reached the doorknob to unlock as he gasped the air due to the fear, and he slowly walked inside, and his heart swelled looking at her body, who was looking lifeless, and a lot of machines stick to her body. He wiped his tears as he slowly walked near her. With his trembling hands, he touched her hands like as if they are so fragile. He kissed her head gently. I'm sorry, he whispered. He kissed her hand softly with his thumb as he looked down. You hate me that much? Did you choose that over me, Ryan? Am I that bad? His voice filled with pain and he barely could speak. I must be really bad then, he uttered. But for that, don't punish me so hard. If you will behave like this, I won't be able to handle myself. Please, love, he muttered. You better choose to kill me instead of yourself, and I will be happily die for you, but will never hate you. If you ask me once you hate me breathing around you, I promise I would have stopped this breathing, Ryan. But his voice grinned. But why you did this? By doing this you killed me alive. I'm living like a dead body now. I can't feel any pain except yours, he muttered. Unknowingly, a tear escaped from her eyes as he was looking down. You lied when you told me you loved me. You lied, Ryan, because you never did. And I wouldn't be able to trust you again. I'm sorry, he muttered as he choked his tears. I'm sorry to you, and I promise I will do everything you want. I will set you free. But please open your eyes for once. Please be okay, he muttered. You have to live. Please, for yourself at least. You are so strong, right? Please fight back. He cried softly, kissing her cheeks. I promise I won't show you my face again. If, even if you ask for I won't. I promise. His voice muffled. Please get up. He uttered, resting his hands on her hand as he sobbed. I will divorce you, I promise. He mumbled, but he felt a grip on his hand. As he looked up immediately, and her eyes moving, and she interlocked her hands, which was he was holding. Fine, he breathed. Doctor, he called as doctors and brother came inside. Fine, her brother hurriedly rushed inside. She made movements, he said, and with fainted smile. Doctor nodded as he checked her, and Jungkook prayed. And Jin looked at Ryan, then Jungkook, who looked so hopeful, and as her hand was holding his hand tightly, and her grip looks really tight. Doctor looked at Jungkook and then Jen. She might gain consciousness soon, Doctor said, and a faint smile appears on their face. Jungkook kissed her hand, crying as her brother wiped his tears. Thank God, her brother muttered. John Jungkook, someone spoke as he looked back. And his brother and father also did look back. And Jen made faces as he looked down. Mr. Kim said, Chen. Officer approached him, and he nodded, and officer nodded, walking in. Mr. John Jungkook, you have to come with us. Jungkook just stared at them. But why, officer? He asked, and his voice fell with desperation. Mr. John lodged an official complaint against Mr. John Jungkook and Mr. Kim under Act 310 Amendment 2 and harassing her mentally, forcing Mrs. John to take this step, he declared, and his father gasped hearing those allegations. While Jin looked away, Subin walked to police officer. Officer, these are the wrong allegations. My brother is innocent. Subin tried to clarify. We'll know that after investigating. Let us do our work. He uttered, and Subin looked at Jin. Mr. Jin, those are the wrong allegations. Please don't do it. Hyung-sun won't be happy hearing it. Please, he approached him. That Ryan will decide. Let them do their work. Jin said with no expression while Sobin looked so mad. Have you gone? Sobin. He cut him off as Sobin looked at him, and Jungkook shook his head. But Hyung. Since you look alright now, Mr. John, I think we can take you in custody. Officer said, and Jungkook nodded. Yes, he said in a low voice. Officer approached another officer to come with handcuffs, and Subin desperately speaks. Hyung, no, he desperately spoke. That say something, he uttered while Mr. John is too shocked to process anything. Jungkook extended his hand, but he looked at his another hand, which is in Ryan's grip. As he tried to loose, but he seems to struggle because the more he tried to free his hand, the more it got tighter, and a low sob and tears escaped from as her brother watched him, and Jungkook gently removed her grip from his hand as he looked at officer before extending his hand. Hyung, his voice broke as officer handcuffed his hand, and he shut his eyes tightly. Come. Jungkook nodded, lowering his hand. As he is about to walk, and he looked at his father, then his brother. Take care of Dad and Mom, he said, and Sobin's gaze flickered as he glanced at Ryan. And keep checking on her as well. Make sure her treatment goes well, he uttered. For that her brother is alive. Jin spoke, and he smiled in pain, nodding. Take care, he said as he walked. Hyung. But he disappeared from his sight as Subin looked at Chen angrily. You didn't do it right, he angrily muttered, and Chen glanced at him. If you think like that, then get him out of bars. You have a lot of money, right? He said with sarcasm, and Subin clenched his face. Her eyes moved as she slowly opened them, and her vision was blurry as she slowly opened her eyes, fully getting her vision back. And the place looked so unfamiliar to her as she looked weakly around, and she heard only machine sound. Jungkook, she muttered weakly. Hardly she can move. Chin flinched back from sleep as he heard her voice. Mayan, he got a wordly as he cupped her face. You want something? Water? He said, pouring the water as he brought near her lips. As he moved the glass. Jungkook, she said weakly, and Jen gulped down. Drink this, baby, he said, making her drink water as she took a sip. Oppa, she muttered weakly. Yes, baby. I'm sorry, Oppa. And his gaze softened. No, baby, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Didn't think about your brother once before taking such big step, He said, and she sniffed, lowering her gaze for a while. Oppa Jungkook, don't think about him. He cuts her off. He didn't come. You want to go back to him? He asked, and she looked at him with no answer. I'm sure you won't. You won't, right? She nodded slowly as a tear slid down from her eyes, which she wiped. I won't leave you alone this time, I promise, he uttered, kissing her forehead. And he didn't come to see me? She asked, and Jen looked at her. You want to meet him? She lowered her gaze, remaining silent as Jen kissed her head. Don't think about anything as long as I am here with you. So, a nurse came with food as Jen helped her. But her mind filled with uncountable thoughts of him. He didn't come to see me. He doesn't care even if I'm dying, I thought. Why all those dreams where you were sitting beside me crying? Was that dream only? You were never here. You'll be alright soon. We'll go home very soon, he said while she seems lost in thoughts. Jungkook leaned his head on wall as he constantly thinking about her well-being. Mr. John Jungkook, someone called as he looked up like a dead corpse. Your brother came to meet you, come, he said as he just got away, no emotions on his face. Young, mom and dad is not alright. His eyes glistened, looking at his baby brother helpless. I can't see you like this. I can't handle it anymore. Our lawyer is working for your bail, but he told it will take more than a week or 2 weeks. Young Sunam's brother has some strong connection here. That's why it's getting hard for us, he said. I spoke to Jaehyun, Young, and Taehyung. They are also trying their best, but still, he said, and Jungkook put hand on his through glass window. Only Young Sunam can save you. His voice broke. Don't bother her, he uttered, and Sovin's gaze filled with so many questions. How is she? He asked, and Sovin lowered his gaze. I didn't get time to meet her, but I heard she gained consciousness. A low, faint smile appears on his face. I don't think her brother let me meet her, or else I would take her help only. Lawyer suggested us. Before any trial, if she gives statement, you will get bail, he said, and Jungkook looked down. Let's go as per procedure. Don't bother her for no reason, he said, and Sovin clenched his hand, feeling helpless. Will you do my work? It's important, he said, and Sovin stared him. You have to do it. Give my instruction to Mr. Park, he said, and Sovin closed his eyes. Sovin, stay strong, he said, holding his face. How? Hyung, how? I can't see you like this. Why are you here? You are not a criminal, he said, and Jungkook sighed before chuckling a little. But I committed a sin though, he said, and Sovin looked down. Maybe I didn't get finished here, but that one person I will be always her culprit. And on a serious note, he looked at him. I don't want her to forgive me. Young, I still can't wipe off that scene from my eyes. It haunts me. Like anything Subin. It's really a nightmare. I don't know how it will go away. I don't know. But sometimes it makes me feel like his voice broke. I can't breathe. I just can't breathe at times. His voice reflected so much pain, and Subin's eyes filled with tears. I still don't know how I will be able to live with that regret, that horrifying scene. She didn't think about anyone for once. He choked. Don't think like this, Young. I swear I can't handle everything if you'll go weak like this. He said, and Jungkook nodded. Your time is up, Mr. Jan. Jungkook nodded as he looked at Subin. Take care of mom, dad. Tell them I am alright, but I'm not happy hearing about their health. Please be strong. He said, and Subin nodded. My strong brother. He muttered, giving him last smile as he got up. He walked while Subin covered his face with his hands. Jungkook was walking to cell when his gaze met with familiar figure. As he looked away and lowered his gaze, but then looked at him. How is Vine? Is she okay? He asked, and his voice filled with pain and guilt. And Jungkook nodded. She is okay, and she is going to be okay. He said with coolness, and Mr. Kim lowered his head. I feel as a father, he uttered, and he smiled a little. You did realize late, I guess, when you lost her, he said, and his voice filled with tenderness. Your kids wasn't happy with your second marriage, but you still did. You failed that day only, he said, and Mr. Kim cried. For Ryan only. Jin was still grown up to understand everything, but Ryan wasn't. She was too young and devastated. He uttered, Mr. John, please. Officer said, and Jungkook looked at him. Can you please give me 2 minutes? He approached him, and officer nodded as he gave cash flashbacks to Mr. Kim. If you took care of her as a father only, she might not be this much broken. And the truth is that she never accepted her as mother. She never gave that place to her. But instead she broke completely when your attention goes to making your other family and taking care of them. She got alone. I was never aware that she's that lonely. You should understand a child can never give her mother's place to anyone, he said. What I did was, I'm still guilty here, paying for my sins. Maybe in future as well, I will pay for it. And I don't know what to do for after this, he said, shrugging. You know reason very well when I just withdrawn half of my share, he said, and Mr. Kim still glanced. I helped you for a long time, I guess, didn't I? I accept she was the reason, but not completely to make me back off, he uttered. And I told you to give me some time, but you didn't because of her only, he said, and Jungkook nodded. I'm never backing off the allegations. I'm just saying, and that's what I am here paying for. But I guess I paid a really expensive price for that one mistake, he said. It was a mistake, not from your end, nor from my end. He uttered, and Jungkook nodded unconscious. Mr. Kim, you have to come with us for interrogation. He nodded as walked and Jungkook watched him. Mr. John, you are a well-reputed businessman, and I never thought you could do something like this and will treat your wife like this, he said, and Jungkook looked at him, remaining silent. What I heard that you are well-reputed and gentleman, he said, and Jungkook lowered his gaze. But I don't know, I still refuse to believe all those allegations. Because I have seen so many cases like this, but you don't look one of them. Especially when you never thought twice before jumping in that freezing river without caring your life. He uttered as Jungkook looked up. Her life was important than mine that time, he said, and officer sighed. You love her a lot. He said, and Jungkook watched him for a while. Yes, I do, but never loved her correctly. You know, I realize love is not being selfish. It means selfless and demands a lot of sacrifices, and You feel in love when you don't know how to love. And I fell in love, he said, and officer unlocked the cell as Jungkook walked in. Love hurts, love kills you. Only when you don't know how to cherish it, how to love. But in your case, I wish you get back your love, he uttered. And Jungkook was listening. I don't have that much energy now. All I want to see her happy, only that can make me survive, he said. Trust me, you are just saying, but when it will come back, you will not able to say no, he said, and Jungkook stared him. Failing once doesn't mean you are not capable of doing it. It means when it's in your destiny, but you are not capable of handling it, it gives you a lesson. And I think you got one, didn't you? He said, and he lowered his head. You are still inside, as it's been 14 hours, you know why, he said. Chief is your wife's brother's best friend. He will not let you, even if you have strong connection, unless you choose to be stubborn to get out of here. Then no one can stop you. You know your powers, but you are not using them. Quite strange, he said. I don't want to hurt anyone. What's written in fate will happen. Why I had to change it? Officer smiled. Then might be this wasn't also in fate. What if it was in her destiny to live this much only? I will change the destiny. He cuts him off. An officer smiled, shaking his head. Quite strange you are, he said, shaking his head. Next interrogation is yours. Don't be like this there. Say something there in your defense. Unless you want to waste your juvenility here. That regret will be bigger than anything. Give yourself a chance. He uttered as he walked. Jungkook leaned to wall as he closed his eyes. I can't when I know she hates me this much, he muttered. I can't repeat my mistake again, he muttered as he covered his face. I can't. Careful, he said, fixing pillows behind her. As he carefully made her lay down when a servant came. So he approached as he extended two bouquets, and he took one but frowned at one. Who gave this one? He asked. I'm not sure. A girl came for Mom only. Jane looked at him. You can't receive anything like this. Oppa, let it be. She cuts him off as he sighed, looking at her. Okay, go. He instructed and he bowed and left. Oppa, she said, extending her hand, and he extended her bouquet. Both, not the one from King for person. Open that one also, she said, and he nodded, sighing as he extended to her, and she took that. She stared at the flower, and her brother notices her gaze. It's not from him, as you are thinking, his brother said, and she looked at flowers, remaining silent and inside. And we will be alright quickly. Then we'll do fun together like we used to. Her brother spoke, and she nodded, giving him a small smile. You're not upset with me, right? She said, and he shook his head. No, I'm not. But I was. Let's not talk about that, he said, and she nodded. I'll ask Cook to cook something delicious, healthy for you. No, wait. What we can do, I'll make your favorite sushi. You love it, right? She nodded, smiling. Yes, I miss them a lot. Please make. He nodded, smiling, and he kissed her head. I'll be quick. Till then, you can take a quick nap, she said. I'm sleeping from last 4 days. I don't want to, she said, and he nodded. Okay, then you can read some books or maybe play games. I have your favorites games and books here. She smiled slightly. Why you have them? She asked. In a hope, when I thought I will take you back with me, she lowered her head. I never knew this day will come like this, he said, and she looked down. Oppa, no one has no fault in that, especially Jungkook. He has clearly no fault. I just don't know, she said out of blue, and he just nodded. I must hurted everyone, right? Don't think about it. Rest, I'll be back. She nodded when he got up and walked outside. She looked at the flowers, and unknowingly tears filled in her eyes as she closed her eyes, taking deep breath. I won't deny the fact you made my life little better, but I don't know. Her voice cracked. It was only you, that's why it hurted me so much, she mumbled. I don't want to live my life with you, nor I don't want to live the life where I can't live with you, she muttered, and she hugged her knees. I know you must have hated me a lot for doing this. That's why you didn't come to see me for once, she sobbed, covering her. I miss you. I don't know, but I miss you a lot, she sobbed. I don't know what to do, she mumbled. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know. I can't do this. I can't. I ended up becoming most weakest person, she muttered. When her phone rings, as she wiped her tears before picking her phone from table, and she sniffed looking at the caller ID. She hesitated a bit to attend, but initially attended. Hello, she said, correcting her. Hyungsunam, he cried on the call only, making her straighten her back. So when what happened? She asked in concern. Hyungsunam, Hyung needs you. Please help him. Her brow straightened. What happened to him? She asked. Hyungsunam, it's been more than 3 days. Only you can save him. Please, I'm begging you to save Hyung. Please, Hyungsunam. He cried. Why you didn't tell me before? She muttered, being shocked. I don't know, but please help me now. Young told me not to tell you anything, but I'm sorry, I can't see him like this. I'm coming. Thank you, Sunan. She hung up the call. She got up and rushed. When she opened the door, her brother blocked her way. Where are you going, man? He asked, and she looked at him with tears. Why you did that? She asked with so much pain, and he frowned. What? You know very well what I am talking about. Why you did that to Jungkook? She said, tightening her jaw, and his brows relaxed. Oppa, why? He has no fault, she uttered, and he looked away. That time what I felt right I did, but what they did, they deserve to be punished, he said coldly. Oppa, she said with annoyance and pain, you don't have to be involved in all this, just relax, I'm here for that, he said looking at her. Oppa, you think I can, after knowing what he has gone through in these days, she said, almost verge of crying. I have to go there, she said, walk. And why are you behaving like this? Why do you care? He said, holding her wrist. I do care because I love him, he said, rich and pain, and her brother just watched her. I'm hurt, Oppa. I don't hate him this much that I would leave him in pain. If he is in pain, it hurts me, she said, as tears rolled down from her cheeks. But he took advantage of you only, he said, and she lowered her gaze as she looked up with guilt in her eyes. He was there with me when you were not. He helped me when I needed you, but this one mistake ruined everything, she said with pain and guilt. All he did is love me. And apart from loving me, he doesn't know anything. Maybe that's why he never realized where he's wrong, she said, and brother watched. I don't hate him to get punished like that. You know, it doesn't affect him as much as my dad incident must have. I know him is not bad. Please take me there. He needs me, she pleaded. I don't have grudges from any of them, not from Appa. I'm just hurt. She sobbed softly, and her brother pulled her in his embrace. You are too innocent for this world, my sis, he uttered. Please take me there, she said, sobbing. He was sitting like a lifeless body as his hands were wrapping around his knees, being lost in thoughts when officer unlocked the lockup. And he didn't even bother to look up. Come, Mr. John, your time is over here. It's time to go home, he said with a wide smile. There is no home without her, he said coldly, and he said, I've never seen a man like you. You're very deeply in love with that one girl only, he said, and Jungkook just grinned a little. I look like mental patient, he asked. No, but lovesick though. But I guess we don't have much time to waste here. Your family is waiting outside, he said, and Jungkook sighed. They can't leave me in peace. They think they are worried seeing me here. But they'll hurt when they will know my condition, he uttered. An officer grinned. If you're not happy, it means it's not ending. Your happy ending is waiting outside. Live your life beautifully, he said. Jungkook smiled a little. You look more happy than me, he said, and he nodded. Of course, I wanted to kick you from here quickly, and it wasn't in my control, he said, making him chuckle a little. You are fun, he said, giving him a hug. All the best. Your place is outside, only not here. Your face made to be smile. Understand? He said, and Jungkook broke the hug. What can I do? She took my smile. Officer flicked his head. You better to take therapy as well. In 4 days you have gone crazy. Your mind isn't working correctly, he said, and Jungkook shook his head, smiling a little. Who all came? He asked. Go and see yourself, he said, pushing him, and Jungkook rolled his eyes. Vine was playing with her fingers continuously as she is eager to catch his one glimpse, while John's family also standing there. Are you really sure about your decision, Vine? He asked again, and Jin looked at her. Then she looked at him. Very sure, she replied, and Jin looked sighing. When Mr. Kim walked, and she looked at him as he looked at her guilty, while Mrs. Kim and Ji ran to his father. Appa, he said, calling him cutely while she watched her little brother as he hugged his legs. Mr. Kim took him in his arms and he hugged him tightly, and Vine looked down. Mr. Kim walked towards Vine as she was looking here and there, and Jin was standing there protectively. And he looked at Jin with guilty eyes, but his gaze shifts to Vine, while Vine didn't dare to make eye contact with him. Daughter, I'm sorry. He asked for forgiveness. It's okay, Appa, she said with a guilty smile, and she looked at Mrs. Kim and her father. I'm sorry for the inconvenience I caused, she said, folding hands, and Mr. Kim shook his head. Please, daughter, he said, lowering her hands, and she snipped. As Mr. Kim gave you to Mrs. Kim and kissed her head, can I hug you once? He asked, on almost verge of crying, and Vine didn't say anything as he hugged her in tiny while she just shut her eyes, letting her tears slide and made face. I'm guilty, and if you both can forgive me, please forgive me. Rest, I wish you both happiness in your life, he said, and Vine wiped her tears while Chin looked away. His tears also slid, and he didn't let his hardened expression to change as he broke the hug. Mr. Kim kissed Vine's head gently. I'm sorry, Vine. I don't know what to say more, but I'm really sorry, she said, and Vine just nodded, and Jihu looked all of them. Sorry, Nuna. Vine looked at him surprised. Why are you so sorry, Bobo? She asked, wiping her tears, and he wiped her tears gently, making her smile. Because you are crying, so I'm sorry. Vine smiled, shaking her head. No, Bobo, Nuna is sorry to you, she said, kissing his little hands, and Jen watched them curiously. Come, she said, spreading her arms as he got in her arms, and he hugged her. I got scared at the Nuna, he whispered in her ears, and Vine felt guilty as she kissed his cheeks. I'm sorry for that. Jiu kissed her cheeks. Don't cry. Tell me who made you upset. I will beat them, he said, making her smile, and unknowingly a smile appeared on Jin's face as no one, she said, pulling his cheeks as Vine looked at Jin, who was watching them curiously. Jihu, meet your Jinyong, she said, pointing at Jin as Jin looked at Vine, and she gives him a nod. Jinyong, she nodded as he looked at him curiously with his two eyes. Hello, Jinyong, he said, waving at him with the cute little hands, and Jin smiled a little. Hello, cutie, he said, waving at him, and Mr. Kim and Mrs. Kim watched him. Suvin anxiously waiting for his brother as well as his dad and mother too. When his eyes landed on him, Hyung, he whispered underneath. As soon as he spotted him, he ran towards him, hugging him tightly. Also, his mother got up. My son, she muttered. Jungkook hugged him back when he looked at his family, but slowly his gaze shifts to his person. as he felt her presence around. Also, Ryan's gaze slowly shifts to Jungkook and her smile slowly faded. And when his eyes met hers, he instantly looked away. You told her even after denying, he muttered to Subin as he broke down. Because you were not at my place, he replied as a lone tear escaped from his eyes. Jungkook slowly walked and kept glancing at her as he looked at her from head to toe, and he noticed a bandage around her head. All he wanted to hug her tightly right now, which he can't. Her mother hugged him, breaking into tears. She muttered as he kissed her head. I'm okay, Mom, he assured her, and his dad kissed his head gently with fatherly touch. But he can't stop himself from distracting to her, who is standing there lowering her head and playing with her fingers in nervousness. Mr. John, you can do formality first, he said, and Jungkook nodded as he walked there, and everyone shifted except Vine. He stood next to her while she shut her eyes tightly as her brother was standing next to her. Vine, sign here, he instructed to her and nodded. As she took the pen from her trembling hands, and Jungkook just watched her as she signed the paper, but with that a tear dropped on the paper. And Jungkook looked at her as well as she, and Jin held her shoulder, giving her support. Here, sign, Mr. John, he said, extending to Jungkook as he looked at her tear drop and make it soak in his sleeve. And she watched him with tears. Now you're free, Mr. Kim, you too, he said, giving them their things back as they just nodded. Thanks for the help, he said to Namjoon, and he smiled. Always here to help you. They have a handshake as Jin looked at Vine. Shall we go? He asked, in Vine, whose eyes fixed on to Jungkook. While Suvin walked to Vine, thank you, and Sonim, he said, folding hands in front of her, and she shook her head, lowering his head. I'm sorry, she said, and Suvin nodded. Let's go home, he said, looking at his family as Vine watched him, and Suvin nodded. He is about to walk, but she felt like to stop him, but something stopped her. But he stopped as he looked at her. Hope you are doing well. He finally spoke to her, and her throat felt heavy instantly as she looked down, remaining silent. I need to talk to you something. Whenever you are free, let me know, he softly said, and she looked up with a bunch of emotion burst into her. She couldn't say anything. Take care, he whispered lastly. Let's go in, her brother said, and Jungkook also walked towards his family. There are media outside, he said to Jungkook. I mean, Taehyung and all others are there to handle, but they will definitely attack seeing you and Youngsun. He uttered. I'll handle, make sure she goes safely, he said, looking at her as Suvin looked at Vine. For God's sakes, please think about yourself as well. You are not looking right, he said, and Jungkook looked at him. If she is alright, then I'm alright. Suvin sighed. I'll call Jaehyung, he uttered. Jin walked holding Vine's hand as he was on call with his driver, looking for his car. Sorry, you have to come on gate number 1. There is huge crowd here, his driver told while Jin looked at Vine. They do not have any work, he uttered, looking at the crowd as he called someone. Come on, he said as some of reporters came blocking their way. Please let us go. Ma'am, please tell us why you jumped in river, or did someone push you? They bombarded her with questions while Vine looks uncomfortable. Please leave our way, his brother protested. You are okay? And Jungkook nodded. Our cars are parked there. You can go from behind, he uttered, while Jungkook's eyes searched for her as he looked at that media sticking to them. Do we have anyone volunteering here to get out of it? Jimin nodded. Yeah, I guess Sovin is there only speaking to them. We'll handle here. You can go. Uncle, auntie, please. Noah, please guide them. He said, and Noah nodded. Please come, she said. Jungkook looked there. Mom, Dad, please go. I'm coming. He said, and Mrs. John looked at him. Where are you going? She asked, and he gestured to his dad, and his dad shook his head, making him look at him a little surprised. Her brother is here. Also, Subin is asking to help. You come with us, he said, and Jungkook watched. I know, but I can't leave her like that. Let me just. You won't go there. Come with me, Jungkook, she said with desperation. Mom, I'll be okay. Taehyung, please, he said, and Taehyung nodded. Uncle, auntie, please come, he said, approaching them while Jungkook walked, followed by Taehyung. What are you doing? They're not letting us move a budge, he angrily said on phone, while Vine felt suffocated with those camera and all as she covers her ears a little. When she felt a purse from sight, and Chen looked at her worried as his hand got detached. But someone held her shoulder as she looks up at Jungkook, and police also arrived, clearing the crowd. Please answer. Please move, I'm requesting, he said, covering her protectively from both sides, for not letting anyone to touch her, and her brothers also came as well as Taehyung. Take her out, I'm clearing the way. I will handle them, he said, and Jungkook securely held her as from other side his brother clearing way, and Vine was just watched him. And looked at Jungkook who looks crowd frustrated. Farty. He cursed underneath as he pushed him slightly, making sure not to hurt her. Come from here, he whispered as he held her hand, taking her out of the crowd. She walked with him while he called someone, and all the time her eyes fixed on him. Yes, Jung, send one car here on gate number 2, he uttered as he hung up the. And when he realized he was holding her hand and his head on it, then her slowly, as she was looking at him without blinking, he leaves her hand. I'm sorry, he muttered, and she constantly stared at him while he is struggling to make eye contact with her. What do you want to talk to me? She spoke, and he looked at her. We'll talk later. Go home and have rest, he said slowly, and she walked near him. I'm sorry, she muttered, and he shook his head. Won't be, he said, and she looked down as she is controlling hard but deep. She wants to hug him. Young, he came as one car arrived in. Jungkook looked at him. Here it is, he said, and Jungkook nodded as he looked at Sob. Did you do my work? He asked, and Subin took a while to realize and then nodded. Yes, it's in car only. Do you wanna? He asked, and Jungkook took a deep breath before giving him a nod. Okay. Subin opened the car to take out the envelope from car as he extended to him, and Jungkook took them helplessly. Thank you, he said. Young, are you sure about it? Jungkook nodded slightly as he looked at Ryan, who was looking at him as he extended to her. Here, this is. His voice cracked as he extended to her with his trembling hands, while she understood what he is giving to her. As she looked at his hand and him, she took them while her heart started to swell already. As she took them, what is this? She asked with her trembling voice. Divorce papers, he replied, and the tears escaped from her eyes. She looked up as she opened them, looking at him. This is what you asked for, right? His voice muffled, pressing his lips tight. She nodded. I'll sign them here. You can take it and sign whenever you feel like. And send back to me, then I won't show you my face again, he said, and she watched him with tears. Jungkook took from her hands as he asked for pen and told Subin, and Subin looked at his brother, softening his gaze, and he chased him as he extended him pen. And Jasmine Jungkook took before turning his back to her She just watched him, feeling no energy. His tears drops while he controlled his sobs as Vine looked away, wiping her tears. As Jungkook settled the paper on car window to sign them, and he felt his hands are so heavy that he can't lift them to sign those papers. But then Sovin put hand on his shoulder as he looked at him and wiped his tears. Jungkook hesitated, but somehow gathering courage, he signed them with his shaky hands as a shaky breath and low sob escaped from his mouth, making her look at him. He shut his eyes and he signed them, and he looked at her, turning his face back at Cole's one. As he extended to her, not making eye contact, "You are free from my side. I will never show you my face," he said in low voice as she just watched him, holding her tears hard. Fine. He walked towards her while she didn't move her gaze. As he looked at the paper in Jungkook's hands and then her, who looks really angry, more than that in pain. "Son," his mother called as she looked at Wine. "Let's go home," she said, looking at Jungkook while Wine just stared at her. "Car is here, Wine, let's go," he muttered to Wine. She was standing frozen. As Jungkook looked at her and his mother looked at her son, who is not even listening her, as he extended her papers and Mrs. John walked towards Wine. "I'm sorry, Wine, whatever has happened, whatever I have done, but I request you," he said, folding hands in front of her as she looked at her. "Go away from my son's life. I beg you. Let him live. Don't ever come back in his life. It's a request of a mother. I'm asking, please give my son back," she said in Wine's eyes on Jungkook. He didn't speak a word. "Please go away. Let him live," she said, and pain and frustration was audible in her voice. "Listen." Wine held his wrist, stopping it, and she took the divorce paper from his hands while Jungkook stood there like a lifeless body. As she picked them from the floor, passing by him, and she gasped before signing, but looking at Jungkook's sign, she signed them as Jungkook just watched her. She held his hand before putting them in his hand. "Hope you live a happy and healthy life," she said as her throat hurt. "You too," he replied, making her glare at him with tears as her tears slid. She walked to her brother. "Let's go, Oppa," she said, and her brother watched her being hurt as he is about to speak, but she walked away, making him shut his eyes. And Jungkook watched her disappearing figure as initially she ran away, and Jin followed, giving a last glare to Jungkook. Jungkook dropped on his knees as Mrs. John and Subin moved in action as well as Nova. "Young," Subin worriedly said. "Son," his mother said, "everything is over." He mumbled and Subin hugged him, patting his. While Vine burst into tears, clutching her chest as her brother put hand on her shoulder, and she immediately hugged him, crying like a baby in his embrace. And her brother kissed her back softly. "He doesn't know everything, Opa. He doesn't know," she said. "Shh, don't cry," he mumbled. "He ended everything, Opa, everything." She saw. "I hate him so much, but he think of himself," she complained. "Opa is really bad. He doesn't know how to love. He ended everything. It would be better if he let me die there only." "Hey, don't say